Hello, I'm Norman Stevens. Welcome to Economics 102, Macroeconomics. This lecture is based on Chapter 5, which covers GDP, Gross Domestic Product. I'll go through some of the terms that your book describes, go over a few charts to explain the difference between nominal GDP and real GDP, and finally conclude with an exercise that should help you when you do your homework. And if this lecture is confusing, please send me an email and I can try to address your questions satisfactorily. Let's begin. Up here on the screen, we have to go back to the screen several times just to follow the lecture. But up here on the screen, begin with GDP, income and expenditure. GDP is defined as the market value of all the final goods and services produced within a country in a given time period. And I'll go over each one of those terms so that you understand why each term is crucial. Value produced. The items in GDP are value produced at their market values. That means at their prices. If 1 million slices of pizza are sold for $4 each, the slices of pizza contribute to $4 million to the GDP. That is, GDP calculates the value of each item. Second point is what is produced. To avoid double counting, GDP includes only final goods and services. And a final good or service is a good or service that is produced for its final user, as opposed, say, to intermediate goods and services. An intermediate good or service might be manufactured for one company and then sold to another company to further the manufacturing process. So it's only the final goods or services that are included. What's produced? The items within a country. That's what counts. Even if the company is a Japanese company, such as Toyota, manufacturing a truck like the Tundra, if it's produced in Texas, that's within the United States, so it's part of the U.S. GDP. It doesn't matter what nationality of the company or their national registration. If it's produced within the United States, it's considered part of U.S. GDP. And finally, when is something produced? It's a production during a given period of time, typically a year. The whole idea of the GDP is to provide a snapshot, say for a year, what's being produced in the country and what's the value of everything being produced. That way economists can figure out how much is being produced during that time and the total value of those items. Back to the terms. There's a circular flow in the U.S. economy. That is, items continue throughout the cycle. They don't just rest at one point. Consumption expenditure. And you're going to see these terms, such as C for consumption expenditure. The terms will refer to these different titles when calculating the total GDP in a formula. But when you see C in the formula, it refers to consumption expenditure, which is the expenditure by households on consumption goods and services. That includes both durable goods, meaning that they last 3 years or more, and non-durable goods. The other term, I, refers to investment. It's the purchases of new capital goods, such as tools, instruments, machines, buildings, and other durable items, purchases of new homes by households, and additions to inventories. Those are all part of the investments. G refers to government expenditures on goods and services. And then finally, NX, net exports of goods and services. Exports of goods and services are the items that firms in the U.S. produce and sell to the rest of the world. Imports of goods and services are the items that households, firms, and governments in the U.S. buy from the rest of the world.